Our guest on the Motivation Show is an extraordinary musical artist whose unique blend of talent, charisma, and generosity has made him an institution both in jazz circles and the world of entertainment at large. He has earned a gold record for the hit single Playground in My Mind and a Grammy nod. He was Joan Rivers' sidekick on The Late Show. Oh, grow up. Pardon me, listeners. I couldn't resist the lame Joan Rivers impersonation. Sorry about that. He also later hosted his own Emmy Award-winning talk show, New York at Night. Hey, I'm a New Yorker. I can relate to that. And he served as music correspondent for Entertainment Tonight. He has developed a brand new show, which I can't wait to see, entitled Let's Go Up on the Roof, which celebrates the music of pop songwriters, including Carole King, James Taylor, Burt Bacharach, Brian Wilson, and Jimmy Webb, with a splash, get this, of Lennon and McCartney. Let's talk about that show. Welcome to the Motivation Show, Clint Holmes.
I love the word motivation. I'm very happy to be here with you. Thanks for the beautiful introduction. That was a lot of info.
Well, I think I could have gone on for about another half hour, but I had to cut it someplace. You got a pretty good career there. I think you've been doing this for a few years, right? I don't know if I should be asking you, like how old you are, because you've been around the block.
Well, I tell you, I got a surprise 2 years ago when a disc jockey called me up and said, congratulations on the 50th anniversary of your hit record. And I went, what?
That gives your age away a little bit.
Yeah. That was one of those, how could that be 50 years ago? But he was right. That was when I did Playground in My Mind. Yeah, my name is Michael. I got a nickel. That's what most people remember of the song.
I think I've karaoke'd that a few times, That's pretty extraordinary. So, Clint, let's start from the beginning. Like, where did you grow up and how did you get this incredible music performing itch?
Okay, both of my parents were singers. My mom was a white British opera singer. My dad was a Black American jazz singer. And they met during World War II and fell in love, and which in those days was a pretty risky thing. Got married after the war came to the States, and we grew up near Buffalo, New York. In a little town called Farnham, which is 25 miles south of Buffalo. But when I say a small town, I mean 500 people. We were the only family of color. And I say this, and I know this sounds like a cliche, but it's the truth. We never had any money, but we always had music. My mom's opera, my mom's theater stuff, my dad's jazz. And of course, as I grew up, my Elvis and Beatles and all the music that I loved. So music. And my sister is also a singer. So music was what we had. And when people say, when did you decide to be a singer? The answer is, I never decided to be a singer. I was always in fifth grade. I was a singer, in kindergarten, I was a singer, in middle school, in high school, I had a band. In college, I was in the United States Army Choir in the Army. I was always a singer. I've always had that blessing.
What's amazing about musical artists is when you think about their hits, you're often thinking about their stuff 60 years ago. You think of the Rolling Stones, right? Which songs do you talk about? You talk about their hits from the 60s, right? You can hardly mention a song in the last, 3-4 decades, And what's interesting about you is you're still creating this new music out there. I understand that you even have a new single, which you co-wrote with Frankie Moreno called A Good Man Now.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well,
I like the lyrics.
I had this idea a while ago because a friend of mine said it just in conversation. My friend was kind of a raconteur, kind of a big personality. His wife was very, very shy and very quiet. And I said, how in the world did you two guys get together? And he said, well, all my life I was a bad boy, but when I met her, I knew I had. And I said, oh, there you go. And so that was the beginning of the title. So the hook of the song is I've been a bad boy my whole life, but I'm going to be a good man now. So that's the idea. And it's interesting because people are taking it from a religious point of view. People are people are talking about it just through life's experience where they had to grow, a man or a woman had to grow up and become new. And so we've gotten a great response, and we have a video that's coming out very soon, and I put it in the show. It's in the show now. Yeah, yeah.
How many millions of guys go into the confessional and say, dear Father, I have sinned, but I'm going to start to be a good boy from now on. If you can only absolve me of all of these sins, right? So that's why these lyrics are amazing.
Great musical play, and I can't think of the name. It's not important, but in the opening scene, there's two people sitting on an airplane, and the one guy it starts to hit on the one next to him, and all of a sudden they hit turbulence, and he starts praying, "Oh dear God, if you get me through this, I'll change. I'll be oh my God!" And the plane straight leans over and goes, "So baby, what are you doing tonight?" It's like in the in that moment we're all there. But I really do think that people, as we grow up, hopefully kind of figure that stuff out and know who they need to be a good person.
So how hard was it to break into the business? Did it happen pretty magically for you? Did it take a while for you to kind of like click with the audiences?
I learned early on to be an entertainer because that's what I did first. I was in Washington D.C. I was the first African American in the United States Army band, a chorus. So I was stationed in Washington D.C. singing at the White House, singing at all these ceremonial things. But I was moonlighting with my own band on the weekends, and nobody knew who I was. I was just this guy who sang. So I learned the craft of performing, of connecting to the audience night after night after night. And that's really the only way an entertainer does learn it, by doing it. By doing it on the night when you have 12 people in the audience and the night you have 200 people in the audience. So I learned to be an entertainer very early on, and that has served me well. The rest of it, there are moments of when I teach a lot of kids now. I work with young kids, and I tell them it's the combination of timing and preparation. My wife and I have a saying: "You never know why you go to the party." Many times we're invited somewhere and we don't really want to go, and we end the night having met someone really interesting, or a business possibility opened up, or just something wonderful, magical happened. So I've always tried to be prepared, and then there have been times when doors open. Steve Wynn brought me to Vegas because he heard about me, and then he came to see me, and then he had an opening at the Golden Nugget Hotel here. He had built a room for Sinatra, Sammy Davis, Sinatra, Stephen Eady, and Harry Belafonte, and all of them were either gone or had retired. And he said, "I'm going to close the room unless I find a way to keep it open." And so he made me literally the deal you can't refuse. He said, "I'll come out." This was in 1999. He said, "We'll open a show in February, and I'll pay you for 8 months, even if I close the show in 2 weeks." So I came out. I was living in New York, came out to Vegas. We opened the show. The show ran through August, and by then I had offers from 3 other hotels and chose Harrah's, and that turned into 7 years. So, point being, it was a lucky thing that Steve happened to see me, but I was prepared because I was working well. The show was good. So it's a combination of things. There's no such thing as an overnight success.
Yeah, I'm sure it took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, as they say. So you have this like infectious personality here. I mean, I know people 50 years younger that don't have your energy. What's the secret? Like, how do you? What inspires you to even still go out on tour?
Because I love it. I feel very fortunate that in my life I had one job, and that is to perform and sing. Very, so it's been my passion. It's been what I do well. I tell my kids when I when I first came here to Vegas, and there were billboards everywhere. You know how that is. The airport, the big billboard of my face, named best singer in Las Vegas, all this stuff. And my kids were in school. And so the other kids would make fun of them. Oh, your father. I said, just tell them that I don't know how to do anything else. I can't change a light bulb. I can't change a tire. You know what I mean? I know how to sing. So it's not a big deal. So I've always been grateful for the fact that the gift that I have is probably, if someone said you can have one thing, it would be the one thing that I would ask for. So it keeps me excited. I love music. I love to listen to. I saw Ann Hampton Callaway last night and just sat there inspired by her brilliance. I love to hear new music. My granddaughter keeps me in touch with some of the new music. I don't shut my ears to it. Like a lot, unfortunately, a lot of performers my age, they don't want to hear anything new. And I'm not saying that I like everything new that I hear, but I want to hear it, and there's going to be some things that I do like. I guess the long, answer to your question is that I love what I do so much that how can I help but be enthusiastic about it?
It's not work, right? It's play for you.
No, we all say this. We get paid. We don't get paid to entertain. We get paid to travel.
Yeah, exactly. That's the hard part, right? Getting it off the planes and in the hotel rooms. Yeah, I get that. So I hear there's a documentary. Is that the rumor they're going around that they're going to make on your life? What would you like that documentary to really hit on? And what do you want people to learn about you?
Boy, is that a good question. Well, I already told you about my family background. Mom and dad, and watching them have a successful 60-year marriage, no matter how hard it was, no matter how much they were ostracized.
That could have been a documentary in itself, right? Just to how they in those days, right? The challenges.
That is a part. That is a part of my story. Coming through that, figuring out, and I think the universality of it is, who are we? Everybody at some point in their life goes, where do I fit in all of this? And there's a billion reasons for that. It can be someone who's overweight, someone who, it can be a million reasons why people at some point just don't have to. So mine was always the being biracial, and well, who am I? So I think that what I've learned through my mom and dad and my sister and my life is that whoever I am, it's okay. And whoever I am, it's as long as it's legitimate, and I'm not trying to be what someone tells me I'm supposed to be, then I'm doing okay. And that was a lifelong lesson for me. And I think, as I said, that's a universal message. And I think that's part of it. And part of it is what music has done for me, and how it's served at every point in my life that was important. I had music,
So, Clint, you're celebrating a tender young birthday of 80. That's quite extraordinary. And you're doing this series of concerts. What I like about the name of your concerts, it's kind of similar to what I do. I keep things simple. The motivation show, and your concerts are called Clint Holmes Enjoy.
Yeah.
How'd you come up with that title, and why?
Joe Marioni, my manager, and I were talking about, well, this year, which is my 80th year, if what would I want to say? I don't want to say goodbye. I don't want to say farewell tour. And I said, well, every year that I sing, I am in joy. I feel like I'm in joy. Anytime I'm on a stage, I'm in joy, And so we went, oh, well, there you go. So the show this year will be called Enjoy. And it also gives me the opportunity to do a lot of material that I've done before and create some new material, which also gives me a lot of joy.
Well, I'm going to come out and see you because I hear that you're going to be in Boca Raton at the studio at Meisner Park, which is where anybody who lives in Boca, they hang out in Meisner Park. So you're going to be all over the place, and you're going to be all over the country. So
I love that area of Florida, Meisner Park, Boca. I have a lot of friends there. I've spent through the years a lot of time both professionally and socially. And so I really am looking forward. I hope that I'll get to reconnect with a whole lot of people at that night. at the studio at Meisner Park. Yeah.
February 21st, 2026. I understand you're going to be April 24th in Yorktown Stage in Yorktown Heights, New York, April 26th in New Jersey, and you're going to be in May 6th in your favorite place there in Vegas, right? Your Myron's at the Smith Center, May 17th at the Riviera Theater, back in your old hometown of Buffalo, right?
Yep.
Thank God when it's good weather. And then in May 18th in my neck of the woods there in New York City, 54 below.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's a pretty decent schedule there so far, and then I'm sure you're going to be adding to some of those dates.
And then my wife and I are hoping that we are, after that, going to go take a week over for a lot of good wine and some relaxation. But you never know. Things are, that's the other thing about our business. I could be sitting here with nothing on the plate and the phone could ring and all of a sudden, there I go. And that's for all of us. That's something that we all have to keep in mind, that sometimes it feels like, nobody's calling, and then somebody does. And then the world changes right then and there. And that's why I stay optimistic all the time too,
Well, tell me what's going to happen at that show there. Tell me what am I in store for, and what are our listeners here going to expect when they come out?
The Up on the Roof show. I've done a lot of shows that's performers, the people that I love, the Sammy Davises of the world, the Tony Bennett's of the world, the people that I grew up on. I thought it would be interesting to do a show that celebrated the songwriters who wrote those great songs. The Jimmy Webbs, the Burt Bacharach, James Taylor.
You picked all these slouches.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the legends of the legends.
I mean, Stevie Wonder. It all starts. If we don't have the song, we don't have the singer. So I decided to really put a show together that features the songs that I have grown up on and love, and even now, a couple of my songs, a couple of originals. But I mean, really leaning into to those writers who have written so many great songs that we all love and grew up on. Joni Mitchell, Carole King. Great writers, great songs.
Well, you and I grew up on that, but the Gen Z, I don't know. They might struggle with a couple of those names, but they're pretty iconic.
I had a funny story. I was working with a drummer here in town, young drummer, not terribly young, maybe late 20s, right? And I said, let's do Fire and Rain. And he had this just blank look. And I said, the Fire and Rain, the James Taylor song, blank look. So I looked at the piano player and I said, our drummer doesn't know James Taylor. And he said, I know James Brown. I said, dang.
Well, I've seen fire and I've seen rain. I've seen sunny days that I thought would never end. I mean, I grew up with that.
And they are, to me, the new great American songbook, right? Neil Diamond is certainly in that world, and then I'm always going to put a Sinatra tune or two in there. But it's not about Sinatra as much as it's about the people who wrote those songs, So people have really enjoyed the show. I really enjoy doing the show, paying homage. Sinatra always paid homage to the people who wrote the songs. He'd finish a song and he said, that's a song written by such and such, arrangement by Sammy Nestico, blah, blah, blah. He always paid homage to the people who wrote the song. So that's kind of my way of doing that.
And I understand you're composing new music with Frank Wildhorn, who did Jekyll and Hyde. And I remember actually doing a seminar with Robert Cuccioli back about 26 years ago when Jekyll and Hyde was on Broadway.
Right.
The good old days. Yeah. So tell us about this new album of material.
Well, Frank and I have been writing actually a long time, but we got serious during the pandemic. Frank was in New York. I was here in Las Vegas, and we started to write. And we've written about 30 songs now. And so we're compiling 10 to 12 of them. And we're doing what I hope is going to be just a simple, beautiful album of the songs that we wrote together. I don't know if you know who Shelley Berg is. Do you know the name Shelley Berg?
No.
Okay. Shelley won a Grammy this year as a jazz composer. He's a wonderful pianist, songwriter, but he's going to produce it and arrange it. And so that's another crazy thing that's happening this year. Um, Also, I've had a musical that I've been working on and off in various forms for many years, and finally decided to do it as a one-man show because Broadway musicals cost $20 million to produce.
Yeah,
And
I worked on over 300 Broadway shows. I am
oh,
definitely aware of what musicals are costing these days. Dramatically
well,
shifted.
in what way did you work on them?
Well, I was behind a lot of the marketing for the shows. So
Okay,
I've worked even Lin-Manuel Miranda when nobody ever heard of him, when he had a show called In the Heights,
right.
and in the third preview at a theater nobody ever heard of, the 37 Arts Theater, which 37th Street between 9th and 10th. I brought in all the hotel concierge to come and see the show, share that with all the millions of guests that had come into New York City. And before you knew it, In the Heights was a very successful, not just because of me, but
Oh,
tiny little, influence on that. And then I love the show so much that I actually did a second night where we brought all the influences. Then I went on Broadway. I did a third night, which I had never done before. And the only mistake I made is I didn't put money and shekels in Hamilton after that.
yeah. Well, yeah, the expense is amazing. So my piece is about my family, and about what we've already talked about. And I've written or co-written all the songs in it. And I'm working with Jeff Calhoun, who directed Newsies on
Yes,
Broadway,
absolutely. I love that musical.
and Ivan Tell, who is his kind of partner as a writer. And I'll be in New York for 3 days in a couple of weeks to hopefully put it to a place where we can put it in front of investors. So that's the other project that is a passion project of mine that we're working on.
I think I know a few friends who might want to invest in that show.
Oh, I'll let
That sounds like a lot of fun. So, what is in store for Clint Holmes in the next 5 years? What do you want to see happen?
5 years. I'm just thinking about Super Bowl Sunday right now.
Yeah, just getting through this weekend, right?
Well, the projects that we've spoken about, the I'm also writing a memoir, a book. All of the theater piece, the album of Frank Wildhorn, the all of these things are things that are down the road that take time. The documentary, you can start today, and we have started, but we're looking a year from now at least, right? So those kind of projects are hopefully projects that will sustain me for as long as I want to perform, and then the day-to-day creation of new shows. My wife, Kelly, and I'm not joking when I say this, might be the most talented person I know. She is like a reincarnation of Carol Burnett, meets Bonnie Raitt, meets Anne Margaret, meets,
Oh my
and
goodness.
yeah, she's amazing, and she's working on a theater piece too. So I feel that in a certain way, I'm as involved in that as I am in my own things, because she really deserves an opportunity to be seen. Everyone here in Vegas knows her. She deserves an opportunity to be seen in the world. We are very excited in our home right now that these things are all out there. None of them are guaranteed. We know that. No Broadway show is guaranteed. No record is guaranteed. None of it's guaranteed. But it is realistic. What we're doing is realistic. And when I get to walk on stage at the studio in Meisner Park, or at the Riviera in Buffalo, or at Myron's here, that's where I live. That's when I'm home. So that I get to do that. And that's the big blessing in my life. So we're doing okay.
Clint, I find there's kind of two kinds of performers out there. They do their great show, and then they're off to the limo and they're out the door. And then there's a second type of performer who loves their audiences, who likes to hang out with them, engage with them, take pictures with them, to give them autographs. Who
Uh,
are you?
oh, I'm the second one.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
Yeah. I mean, there are nights, there are nights I want to sneak out the back door, but by and large, no. By and large, I love to get feedback, from people, and the the feeling of what let's call it 90 minutes, that 90 minutes on stage needs to not end when the last note is sung. What you hope you're giving people are the propulsion to go out and have dinner and talk about it and feel lifted, or go home and get up the next morning and say, boy, I love when he sang that song. I that's been my favorite song for years. You don't want, I don't want, I think none of us want the what we've given to end just because the show is over. So yeah, the chance to interact with the audience in some way afterwards is almost always a joyful thing. Yeah.
So besides Ann Hampton Callaway, who you mentioned, who are your favorite artists and friends in the business?
Well, my favorite artists are my favorite singers. Okay, going back, Belafonte was one of my very first heroes. Sammy Davis Jr., one of my very heroes. I love Tony Bennett, was my favorite crooner. Now I love Stevie Wonder. I love James Taylor. I love Michael McDonald. I like Billie Eilish and her brother Phineas. I love Bruno Mars. I mean, Luther Vandross. I mean, these are people who to me were and are unique. One of a kind. When you go see them, that's who you saw. You didn't see a guy or a girl who sang well. You saw Bruno Mars. You saw Stevie Wonder. So to me, the one of a kind people who are one of a kind are people that I admire. And some of them aren't people that I necessarily love their music, but I love who they are, and I love their individuality. So that's what I look for.
So you had, done your iconic song "Playground in My Mind." You won that gold record. What does that song mean to you? What should it mean to the audiences that listen?
A simpler time, you know. Um, my name is Michael. I got a nickel. I've got a nickel shiny and new. I'm going to buy me all kinds of candy. That's what I'm going to do.
My name is Michael. I got a nickel. Boy, I tell you that it's really the kind of tune that you're in the shower singing. Hopefully, guys like me only sing it in the shower, but
yeah, right. So many times through the years, of course. And one of the great benefits of it are the stories that people tell me. How I had a man come up to me and say that he had cancer and was on an experimental program that was very difficult, and the nurse every morning would wake him up singing my name. His name was Michael. My name is Michael. Okay. And he said to him that song got him through cancer. I had a girl tell me that when she was a little girl, it was her favorite song, and she played it over and over and over and over again, and her brother hated it. And one day her brother came in, took the record off the little thing, broke it, and she went crying to her father, and her father gave her brother the biggest spanking he ever got. And to this day, if they watch a football game and someone gets hit hard, they go, boy, that guy got Clint Holmes.
I like that expression.
Yeah. So I mean, the stories that you just don't know, that people. I have a necklace on, this one that says "If not now, when." It's a song I wrote after I had cancer and realized that quote unquote tomorrow's not promised, right? And so I wrote this song called "If Not Now, When," and it's the song that I close almost every show with. And I find that people really relate to it. The hook to it is running out of time, running through my prime, running past where I've been. Every choice I make is a chance I take, but if not now, when? It's about living in the moment, right? So those are songs that I love, and those are songs that I think people relate to.
I got to tell you something, Clint. You can co-host my show. I mean, you're a motivator. You're inspiring people. I mean, that's great. I actually want to tell my audience what a good guy you really are. You advocate for worthy causes. You're always generous with your time and talents. You champion organizations such as JDRF and the American Cancer Society. You dedicate yourself to mentor young musicians through the Jazz Outreach Initiative. I mean, you're really just a good guy. I mean, what do you get at all of that, and how does that make you feel?
Makes me feel great. I always say I can't write a check for $1 million, but I can show up, uh, and whatever that means. I love working right now. Both my wife and I are working with talented young kids from all socioeconomic backgrounds here in Vegas. And what we love is when that light goes on, when you might just say the one thing they hadn't heard before, and you see the oh, and I swear to God, I get in the car and I go, well, I had a good day, you know. So I think most of us, and believe me, I'm not the only one in this town. There are a lot of entertainers who give their time. But I think we do it for ourselves too. I don't think it's totally altruistic. I think we do it and we get something back from it. And the kids. So yeah, I love doing. I'm with they gave me a title. I think it's the director of. I never get it right. The development of the kids. But anyway, it's called Positively Arts is the group. And we work with children who are talented, but we teach them things like, okay, if you're out there, how do you talk to a sound man? If you're not happy with the way it sounds, how do you go to the sound man to talk to him? How do you work when you're in a group? How do you interact with the other young people? How do you support them? How does it not feel like a competition when you're out there? That you're, all of the things that go beyond just the notes and how to deliver a song, how to be a human, especially in our crazy business, So I do like it. I get a lot out of it.
So tell our audience how people can follow up with you, how they learn about all of your great upcoming performances, and how they can sit next to me listening to your show in Boca.
Well, I would assume there's a way to do that. Clint Holmes, LV, Clint Holmes Music is the website. Do you have that information there?
ClintHolmesMusic.com, right? Nice and simple.
I challenged.
Yeah.
As you know, because when we started today, I couldn't figure out how to do it on the computer. But yeah, that's the way to find me on the website. I'm social media. I'm very much involved in social media, Facebook, Instagram. We post a lot of things. It's pretty easy to find me on the internet. Clint Holmes Music. Is it ClintHolmesMusic.com?
That's what it is.
Because my manager, when he sees this, is just going to go, "Oh my God, you're an idiot."
Clint, just don't change. Focus on the music. Let everybody handle the rest of the stuff. You are pure delight. And I want to thank you for being on the show today.
I'll see you at Boca at Meisner, at the studio at Meisner Park. I look forward to meeting you in person.
See you then.